Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sales Syndicate podcast. I actually don't know what episode this is. I'm going to guess 46 or 47. But we're going to be talking personal branding again today, which is something we haven't spoken about probably in 6 months. So I think it'll be good to do a recap or a deep dive on personal branding from a different point of view. But before we go into the topic of conversation, I will just hand over to my guest for today, Holly from Deel, who will introduce herself and Deel before we get going. So over to you, Holly.
Thanks, Jamie. Hi, everyone. My name is Holly. I am an SMB SDR at a company called Deel. We essentially help companies hire anyone, anywhere. So we're an all-in-one HR platform built for global teams. We look after compliance, benefits, payroll, pretty much every single thing you need to manage a global team.
Amazing. And you were talking about it on the kickoff that we had, but you've done a few different roles and eventually went back to being an SDR. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, I had a very job hoppy year last year, which I'm actually not afraid to kind of talk about. I think a lot of people are a little bit embarrassed if they've had a few short stints in jobs, but I'm definitely not. It just took me a while to kind of find my feet and figure out exactly what I wanted to do. Like, did I want to be a manager or did I want to stay in the IC route? And that is definitely, where I'm happiest. So SDRing at the moment, and fingers crossed, AE is on the horizon.
Well, no, they only say that job hopping's bad if there's no reason behind it. And like you said, there was a reason for the madness, and you found out where you're happy now. So it was obviously for the better. But in terms of personal branding, then, for anyone who doesn't know you, I think I came across you on LinkedIn through obviously efforts of your personal branding. I came across your profile from another podcast, I think, and then when I checked out your content and stuff, it was evident that you've invested a lot of time into personal branding. But for, not that anyone wouldn't know what it is, but for those who don't, do you want to just give us like a definition from your point of view of what you think personal branding is?
Yeah, absolutely. I think to me, personal branding is showing your prospects that you're not just another salesperson, but that you are actually a human being just like them. You're not there to rinse their bank accounts or their company's bank accounts, but you actually have a life, you do normal things, and just showing that you are, a real human being that they will actually want to interact with, as opposed to just another email address trying to sell them something in their inbox.
Yeah, there's loads of other, personalization, humanization terms that are going around at the minute. But like you said, it's basically just being your genuine, true self, rather than that, I guess, cliche, old school salesman misconception that everyone has. But we're going to go into like a how-to guide a little bit later of just chronologically how you set things up and top tips and things. But you told me a really interesting story about like your personal branding journey, if we can call it that, of like where you started and sort of that journey. So do you want to just give us a bit of a rundown of the day one of you deciding you wanted to do it and what's happened since?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started in my first ever sales role as an SDR at a really cool company called G2, which is a review platform. I started with a guy called Sean Colfer, who's still there crushing it as an AE. And I remember in our first week, he was just like getting it straight away. Like he was just getting everything. We were like doing Salesforce reports, or we were meant to be, and he could just understand them, put them all together. And I was like, oh my God, like, what am I doing? I felt so out my depth. And to me, I was like, he's going to start booking meetings like straight away, which is great for him. But like the competitive side in me was like, oh, I need to get there first, or like, I just don't want to be really bad at this. So I kind of just had a chat with myself and I was like, okay, what can I do to stand out? What can I do that's maybe a little bit different that can play on my strengths? I've always loved social media. Growing up, I did like a lot of performing as well. And I think that a lot of that does kind of come into my personal branding. And so I just started posting on LinkedIn. It was a way for me to like post about the challenges of being an SDR, which definitely really helped. And I think a lot of other people could actually really resonate with, which made me feel a lot better about, not understanding HubSpot for about 6 months, for example. And from there, it just kind of grew and grew. And before I knew it, I think the content I was posting, because it was just kind of very real and genuine, people were relating to. And suddenly I was getting like inbound leads off the back of it. And I was like, okay, this is actually working. This is quite fun. And I'm enjoying it while I'm doing it. So it's just something that I've kept up. And I think the real like secret to it is that I've always just posted content that is genuinely me, and that I have fun making. I think if you're thinking about building your personal brand, and to you that means just like regurgitating marketing content or your company's content, like that's boring. It's probably not going to get traction. What people want to see is the stuff that no one else is doing, which is posting about yourself and linking that back to your company and your role. And that's what people find interesting and want to read about.
In terms of that journey then, how long has it been since you were at G2 and you sort of started investing time properly into like personal branding?
Probably about 2.5 years.
And in those 2.5 years, what would you say, like how has the brand changed? Obviously, like you said, the personal brand is being yourself. So I guess it's just changed along with your experience level and the jobs that you're doing and the I don't know, the information that you're able to share. Is that like, how has it changed?
Yeah, good question. I think at first it was really just about my journey as starting out as an SDR and all those little mistakes and funny moments that happen, your very first cold call and all that kind of thing. I would say SDR, like tips and tricks, is definitely something that I'm really passionate about, just like the SDR function in general. So I still share a lot of that content. But then obviously, as you get more and more into a company, now my content, I need to make sure that it is very kind of company focused as well, but still putting my fun twist and spin on it. So for example, in my current role, I post a lot about what Deel does, but I post like personal content that I can spin to make relevant to Deel, as opposed to the other way around, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Now, you sort of touched on it briefly with the like inbounds that you get and sort of the results, let's say. So in that 2.5 years, do you want to just share some of like the top highlights or benefits? So I think inbounds is one. Probably going to be talking about followers in terms of like your network, but what are some of the like highlight figures or highlight results for you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've just had one actually. So this last week I was actually on holiday. Obviously wasn't like actively prospecting, but I was still posting on LinkedIn just because I enjoy doing that. And I think I had 4 inbound leads literally last week, which at the end of a summer month as well, that is notoriously difficult in sales, that is just like an absolute godsend. And that was literally just off the back of like posting content, not necessarily, actively prospecting. I also reached over 20,000 followers this month. So I was on 18,000 last month. That was a huge milestone. And then I don't know how, but there's just been an influx of new people, which is nice. So followers, inbounds, obviously having the opportunity to come on podcasts is really, really fun. And then I also am a coach for Sales Impact Academy, which is just like a nice little extra gig and side hustle where I talk about sales tips and tricks, but especially personal branding and social selling as well. So yeah.
Nice. So when we're talking about those inbound leads, it's the case of I saw your post about this and I'd be interested in chatting about what you guys can do for us.
Yeah, I mean, normally, I think people typically see my posts probably because I've got a lot of followers. Well, not a lot, but I've got a decent amount of followers.
It's a lot. You can say a lot. It's 20,000 is a lot.
A decent amount. And obviously, the more followers that you have, the more people that are engaging in your content, then LinkedIn is like a domino effect. So then suddenly people that you aren't connected with are then seeing your content. And it's that little snippet at the top. It's, Holly Allen, Deel. People see Deel, they see that little tagline and snapshot of what you do. And then suddenly when they're looking for a solution or looking for something like what your company does, then you're going to be the person that they reach out to, just because it's easy. Like your post is right there. They can click onto your profile. They can drop you a message. They don't have to go to your website, submit a demo request, wait 2 days, however long, for someone to come back to them. So it's just a smoother process. But yeah, normally it's just a direct message in my inbox. Hey, Holly, we're looking to hire someone in Germany. Can you help? Yeah.
Well, no, it's very familiar to me. Like, obviously, I work in marketing, so it's so similar to like that create demand or demand creation sort of function, which is you just share good content that's informative, educational, funny, relatable. Over time, you create affinity, trust, brand awareness, and then when they are ready for a solution, they put their hand up and say, I'd like to have a chat. And it's like, it's such a scalable and such an efficient way of doing things, but it can take time. Like you said, 2.5 years you've been doing it now, and you got 2,000 followers increase in, was it a month you said?
Yeah, well, maybe like 6 weeks.
Okay, but it probably took the first few thousand probably took the longest, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. Ages.
Like I can attest to that. Like I'm not trying to get inbound leads on my own profile, but I post a lot of these podcast snippings, obviously, as you can imagine, and they're creeping up, but it's like it's a long slog. But I know, fingers crossed, eventually it'll pay off. But now in terms of the how-to guide, then let's jump into the how those that are listening or watching or whatever can try and learn from this, take some tips and tricks and sort of put it into action with the aim of hopefully getting some inbound leads themselves, albeit hopefully quicker than 2.5 years. So I think the first we've got on the list is LinkedIn profile, which I guess is like your homepage. So what do people need to be thinking about when it comes to a LinkedIn profile?
Yeah, having a good LinkedIn profile, if you take anything away from this podcast, I would say make it this. I always say your LinkedIn profile is a bit like a dating app profile, like a Hinge or a Tinder if you're on there. If you have like one photo, you have no information about yourself, you just come across as a bit of a weirdo, like no one is going to swipe right for you. I think is right, left, I don't know, but no one's going to want to talk to you if you have a blank profile. So I think having a professional headshot that's nice, smiley, people see you and they like want to talk to you, you look approachable, that's really important. A strong banner image as well. I see a lot of people on LinkedIn, they either don't have a banner image or they have like New York skyscrapers, not really relevant to the company or what they do, so make sure that is on brand. Then your tagline is the kind of next thing to look out for on your profile. So I always say have job title hyphen your company name and then that little snippet of what it is that you do. So just short, sweet. So as soon as your prospects see that tagline, they're like, okay, yeah, she's reaching out to me, a HR director, because this is a HR platform, for example. I like to add emojis in my tagline and in my about section as well. Just keep it fun, bring that like element of personality in there as well. Your about section is the kind of next thing to look at. So I always say your about section shouldn't really be about you. It's about who you help, how you help them, and why you help them. So what challenges you're there to solve for your prospects. Keep it again short, sweet, light. Make sure it's broken up into bullet points. You don't want massive chunks of text that no one's going to read. And always add your contact details at the bottom as well. Someone might just want to pick up the phone and give you a ring, or if you've emailed them and your email signature is there, then they're going to obviously recognize that email and put 2 and 2 together. And then what's next? Then you've got your like work experience. I always say make sure that your current role is the one where you've got the most information. People, you don't want people to get sidetracked and read about what you did in 2007. Not that they would, but you get my point. You want your current role where you are at the moment to hold the most weight, and also add your achievements in there as well. If you've excelled your quota or you've won an award, whatever it might be at your company, make sure that's all in your experience, just because your work experience is like your virtual CV. So that's the kind of first thing.
No, I like that sort of comparing it to Tinder or Hinge or even Facebook. Like an incomplete profile is essentially a no-go. And I think when you join LinkedIn or you join Facebook, it has like a 7-step, like complete all of these steps in order to get the most out of your profile. So I think, do that. And then, like you said, emojis keeps it fun and, personable, as much information as possible. I think you can do like images and stuff now, can't you, in like your work experience, and you can put like key links and things. Is that something you've looked at as well?
I've never done it before, but I mean, if someone has that kind of thing, I know what you mean. I'll always like click on it if I think it looks cool and stuff. I think people just they want vibrant. Like that's just the word that comes to mind when I'm talking about this. Like they just want color. They want things that they can visualize. So yeah, I think the more type of stuff like that, the better.
Cool. Okay, so you've gone on, you've set up your profile, you've optimized it. You think, great, my profile's looking cool. Next up, I guess, is like your network, connecting with people and like trying to grow that sort of sphere of connections. So what are your like recommendations and sort of how to on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I typically will put like 2 15-minute blocks in my calendar, morning and evening, just to actively connect with people. And that was certainly something that I made sure I was definitely sticking to when I was building my personal brand. Ultimately, the more connections that you have, the more people and prospects your profile is going to reach. I would make sure you're not just connecting with prospects, make sure that you are connecting with, peers, other SDRs, if that's your role, other people in a similar role to you at similar companies, because the more that you can grow your network, then the more that you're going to be able to then go onto your LinkedIn feed and absorb some information and content that's going to inspire you and going to be helpful to you as well. But yeah, make sure that you're not just kind of sat there like waiting for people to connect with you. That's not how it works. And I think as well, I don't know about you, Jamie, but sometimes if someone sends me a connection request and we have like no mutuals and they have like 3 connections, I'm not going to accept because I think something's just a little bit weird here. So yeah, that's another thing to look out for.
Yeah, I was going to say definitely have some sort of strategy for who you're connecting with. And am I right in saying that there's I've heard a few numbers like floated about in terms of the number of connections you can do a week, and I think it's around 100. So would you try to, if you've got those 15-minute blocks in, are you thinking, right, 20 today, 20 tomorrow, or is it just you haven't really hit a limit before and you just, as and when, you just add people?
Yeah, so I think the rough number is 100, but I'm probably going to get banned from LinkedIn for saying this, but I'm pretty sure I must send more than 100 a week. Like I'm certain. And I'm not sure if it's a case of like once people accept you, maybe you get that credit back, or something else that I do is I go through, if someone hasn't accepted me in like 3 weeks, I'll withdraw my requests. And I think that frees up some as well. I mean, yeah, it's something to be cautious of. Obviously, if you do get that notification saying you've maxed out your connections, then like maybe leave it for a couple of days. But I would say just go for it until that happens.
Yeah, there is a running, discussion, I would say, banter between our head of sales and our head of enterprise sales, because one of them definitely does more than 100 a week, like you've said, and the other says he hits a limit every week. So no idea what's going on there, but yeah, roughly 100 a week. I mean, what's that? 5,200 a year that you can add, and there's the connect rate would be something like at least 60, 70% probably. So a good few thousand people a year. And again, another figure I've heard, I think you can have something like 30,000 connections. So it's going to take a good few years of you doing that consistently. So it's unlikely that you're ever going to like max out on it. But like you said, the more people that you're connected to, the more reach you have across all of their networks. Obviously, whenever they like or engage with your post, their followers or their connections will see it as well. So it's just making the effort to increase the size of, or consciously increase the size of your reach through the platform. So I'm guilty. I definitely don't connect with people as much as I should. I did have that like 10-minute block in the morning, and then I just started getting too busy in the morning, so I didn't do it. But it's definitely something I need to do again. Okay, so you've got your profile sorted. You're connecting with people consistently. I guess from that point on, it's starting to think about build, right? It's starting to think about just getting started with posting. So where do you start if you've never done it before?
Yeah, good question. It's always, I think, like a very daunting thing for a lot of people when they've never posted on LinkedIn before. It's a bit like going to the gym for the very first time when you've had like a 6 month break and you're like, oh my God, like I'm going to get in there and the world's going to end. But it's never as bad as it seems. That's the first thing I would say. Like, only good can come from posting on LinkedIn. um where to start? I always say what is like a kind of good thing to do is, once you've built up some new connections, if it was me, I'd do essentially like a kind of introduction post, like, hey LinkedIn, Holly here at Deal, currently working on building my network and wanted to say hello to my new connections. Give a couple facts about yourself, maybe talk about some personal facts, but then say, I work at Deal, this is what we do. So you've kind of got that very subtle sell in there as well. You could do this in the form of a photo post. You could do it as a video. If you really don't want to do that, you could just do it as a text post. And then invite engagement on all your posts. I think that really, really helped me when I kind of was getting going, and it's something that still helps me now. Ask a question at the bottom of the post. Maybe that's, I'd love to know one fun fact about everyone in my network, and then send it to all of your colleagues and make them all comment. Because that's really, really going to help you. Number one, you're going to get engagement, you're going to feel good about it, and it's going to help your posts reach more people as well. So that would kind of be the first, maybe like post idea. And from there, I would say set yourself a realistic goal of how much you want to commit to posting on LinkedIn every week. Again, like with the gym, if you've never been to the gym before and you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to go every single day, twice a day for 2 hours, you're not going to do that. You're going to go in once, and then the next day you're going to be like, right, I'm never doing that ever again. That was awful. So set a realistic target. Maybe that's 2 posts a week to begin with. Put that in your calendar so that you stay accountable. Maybe even add your manager to the calendar invite, or a colleague, to hold you accountable to making sure that you will definitely get a post out on a Tuesday and a Thursday. If you're stuck for creativity, go onto your own LinkedIn feed, scroll through, what content do you like? What content are you stopping to look at? Copy that content. Maybe someone takes a photo, go and take a similar photo. If they've written a little bit of text that you find really interesting, copy it, reword it, and just make it your own. And if you find, like I always find on a Monday morning or like over the weekend, that's when I feel the most creative and ideas come to me. So have a think about when your kind of creative blocks are. And maybe that's the time that you, I don't know, sit down with like a whiteboard or a pen and paper, or even just the notes in your phone, and jot down some ideas of things that you could post about.
Yeah, I was gonna say, in terms of like ideas, for posting, are you schedule ahead of time, or are you a post on the day when you just think of the idea?
Yeah, I'm a post on the day when I think of the idea.
Yeah, there was guy called Sean Anderson who runs Hoxo, which is a personal branding agency. He actually said the same thing last week. He was like, he thinks people overthink that whole, I need to spend 2 hours and schedule 6 months of content, because, well, one, that's a lot of time you've got to carve out. Two, something you've scheduled now won't necessarily be relevant in 3 months' time. So he does exactly the same, 15 minutes in the morning, and he's like the same framework every day to think about what he can post, and then he just does it like on the day. And I think that is a great tip of, if you're trying to build a personal brand and be genuine, scheduling stuff like 4 weeks ahead doesn't always come across as genuine, because something might have changed, something could have happened, content might not be as relevant as it was. So yeah, definitely try and do it. I say maximum, would you say like a right for the next couple of days, if you want to schedule 2 or 3 days max, really?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, look, if it's going to help you to be able to schedule posts for the next 4 weeks and not think about it, and it means that you are getting posts out there, then like by all means do it. For me, I just think there's no way I could think up 4 weeks of content in one go. For me, it's very much just kind of like as and when it comes to me. But I think when you start, because it can be a really daunting process, if that is something that is going to work for you, then I would say just do it.
So I'm writing questions as we go, so I don't forget. So you spoke about that initial idea of a post, of introducing yourself. What are some other like good topic ideas? Because I've seen you do stuff about your runs and things like that, which might not be something people think to post about. So what are some of your other, like, let's call them like your core core topics that you cover?
Oh, good question. My core topics. I mean, I kind of feel like pretty much anything you can somehow spin and relate it to work, your company, and it can be a LinkedIn post. I mean, I think like mental health, well-being, that's obviously a huge, and I think has been ever since COVID, like a huge topic that is very relevant and that a lot of people are talking about on LinkedIn. So anything from going to an exercise class to going for a walk, a run, whatever it might be, things that people can really relate to, getting out on lunch for half an hour and feeling so much better when you come back. All of that stuff I think is great. I think as well, like just being honest and talking about, this morning I did a post about the fact that it's the end of July, it's a notoriously tough month in sales, talking about like some of the challenges that you might face in your role, stuff that people see and read and they're like, oh my God, thank God I'm not the only one that is experiencing that, or that people go, oh, that's so funny that she does that, I do that as well. Just all that like relatable stuff.
Yeah, I tell you what, for those living in the UK, they'll understand that roughly 20th of July, when all the schools break up, it's literally like a flip of a switch, and inbounds definitely change, and the number of people with out of office and struggling to get hold of them definitely changes. So that's definitely relatable. I've seen a ton about Barbie and Oppenheimer like the last like week or two. That is relatable, but I think on like the topical stuff, don't do it 2 weeks after everyone else has done it, because it so quickly gets like old. Because I'm seeing the same Barbie memes that were posted a week ago posted this week, and it's like, I don't know, I just scroll straight past it now. But I love this stuff about the like you said, the runs and things, stuff that is timeless but relatable. So it's not going to go out of fashion or anything like that. Do you have like a favorite format of post? So image, text, video, voice note, or not voice note, like audiogram, whatever you want to call it. Do you have a preference?
For me, probably like photo and image post. I also do love video. I feel like video is doing better and better on LinkedIn. I think about a year ago, I noticed like videos just weren't really, or mine certainly weren't really getting much engagement, but I think now they seem to do quite well. So yeah, I would say video or photo.
Yeah, definitely. I've obviously, again, working in marketing, I see a lot of the stuff about like videos and things, and the trend at the minute is videos that look like they've not taken any production. So I think that obviously typically people would think, oh, video, that's, they've got to edit it and the lighting's got to be right, and it's so much more effort. I've got to write a script, and I think it's almost like that might have been a year ago what people thought, but now it's just rough and ready, like selfie. You stick your phone on the shelf and in exactly the same way you would take an image, just take like a 30-second video. So the barrier of entry has definitely gone down. But yeah, you're not the first person to say that video is definitely starting to like creep up again in terms of its performance on LinkedIn. So yeah, definitely try and do a mix. But like you said, if you've got a preference of something that you just find easy to execute and does well for you, then yeah, don't change. If it's not broke, don't fix it, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think that's such a good point as well about, just kind of like rough and ready videos. If I want to do a video, I'll kind of like make a little promise to myself that if it's going to take me longer than 5 minutes, just don't even do it. I normally will just like record a video, watch the first 3 seconds, and then just post it, like get it done. You don't want to be spending hours and hours on a LinkedIn post. It should just be like fun, quick, get in, get out, get it on.
Yeah, you know what? It's that reminded me. We were playing. We had a work summer party and we were playing baseball, and it's I'm thinking like the 3-strike rule in baseball. If it takes you more than 3 attempts to film a video, it's too much. Like, give yourself 3 strikes, and if the third one isn't right, post it anyway. And I'm going to be doing a post about the podcast, but one of my top tips is do not listen to it. Like, I do not listen to any podcast episode, because otherwise I'll find fault in it and I'll think I can't share that, I can't post it because it's not quite right. I don't know, my voice broke or something stupid like that, but I just wouldn't have posted it. So that's definitely, I can just don't overthink it, because what's the phrase? Don't let perfection get in the way of execution. Right?
Oh, I love that.
80% consistently is better than 100% one day a week. So yeah, whatever cliche phrase or that you want to use, just do it. What's the worst that can happen? And you'll see, like with the consistency and just giving it a go, that you'll soon get more comfortable in things. And over those 2.5 years, I bet you find it a lot easier now than you did.
1,000,000%, yeah. And that's the thing, at first, it is always really daunting. But now it's just like, as you say, like, what's the worst that can happen? It's one post. Just do it.
What's your like, out of curiosity, what's been your biggest success story? Where you do more than one if you want, but like some of your biggest success stories off the back of investing into your personal brand, whether that's a deal or a connection that you made that you never would have made or something like that.
Oh, that's a good question. I think probably just instances where, like, as an SDR, AEs have said to me, I've been, trying really, really hard to break into this account. Can you help me? Like, the emails aren't working. And then I go in with a LinkedIn connection request and then, like, even just a voice note. And it lands, it resonates, and they want to, like, book a meeting. And I just remember, like, one of my AEs, when I started at G2, this happening with like 3 accounts within a week. And one of my A's like messaged my manager and was just like so happy and was just like, what are you doing? Like, this is so good. And I think just doing stuff that people are like, whoa, like almost as if that works, but it just does, for whatever reason.
I was just gonna, in terms of, it's kind of like dark social, isn't it? Where it's like it's not something that you necessarily would have, that you can report on or see, but it's like that word of mouth of like it does work. So like you're not necessarily going to see loads of likes or loads of views or loads of comments on something, but that doesn't mean that it's not working, which is another, like, I guess, don't overthink it sort of thing. Don't post and expect to get 100 likes, like some of these big LinkedIn influencers who say they get millions of impressions every single year. Like, it's going to take time.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. And I've had so many instances where I'll do a post and it maybe won't get as many likes or comments as a different post, but that's the post that will actually trigger someone to message me and come inbound, and that turns into a demo and then maybe a closed one. So I think, yeah, that's such a good point. Try not to get too hung up on the likes and the engagement, because they are essentially just vanity metrics.
Yeah, and it's the same in when I first started marketing, I literally had to track the number of likes on every single post. And nowadays it's just like, as long as the overall month and quarter is better than the previous month or better than the previous quarter, it doesn't matter how many likes you got on a post. And I think it's, yeah, just as long as you're seeing positive signals off the back of it, yeah, try not to think too hard about the likes. It is difficult. Like, it really is. Like, the first few months you will be going, I put so much effort into that post. It took me 30 minutes to write. That one took me 2 minutes. And why has that done so much better? Because I didn't think it was as good. But yeah, to your point, just because you don't think it's a good quality post or it's relevant, it doesn't mean that someone else, smack bang in the middle of your ICP, doesn't think it's useful or relevant or timely.
Absolutely.
Are there any frameworks that you use in terms of just maybe in your own mind, or like a list of things that you kind of work through if you're struggling with content ideas? I think a good one that I heard previously was, what did you do last week? And everyone can tell you what they did last week. Okay, right, talk about that. Done. So easy to talk about what you did last week, because it's probably in your to-do list or in your CRM or whatever, or in your notepad. Are there any tips you would share in terms of like frameworks to use?
Yeah, I think if I'm ever struggling, I mean, thinking back to what you've done is definitely a good one. And I think just thinking back into, okay, what were like the highs and lows of work last week? Is there a customer story that I could talk about? Did I speak to a prospect where it was a great cold call because they had a pain point that we could solve? Like, can I talk about that in a post? But I think something I always do is I will go back through my own content. I'll look at previous posts that I've done. What did well? What did I really enjoy? What's like a memorable post? Can I kind of copy that in some way? And then also just like going through my own LinkedIn feed, even like Instagram, TikTok. I use all of those for inspiration as well, because sometimes it can be as simple as like listening to a song that has a lyric in it that makes you think about, I don't know, a situation or something that you could post about. Yeah.
You mentioned like Instagram and TikTok for inspiration. Are there any other like, because like if I want to learn something, I typically one of the first places I'll go is YouTube and be like, how to do that. Are there any resources you've used, like maybe in the earlier days, that helped you learn, teach yourself, coach yourself into getting good at it?
Yeah, I think just following influential people that were like me on LinkedIn. So my sister Sophie, she works at a company called Venetrix. They are super hot on personal branding. They all post loads of content, and they probably, without me realizing, probably were like my kind of main inspirations because they were all doing it, and it was working. And Venetrix have like such a good name for themselves. So I think just doing that, other people, you know, Ellie Twigger, Charlotte Johnson, Lucio Batelli, they're all people that really stick in my mind, where when they post, I'm like, oh, that was a good idea. Could I do something the same?
Yeah, so Venatrix as in recruitment, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's funny because we got someone called Tara coming on the podcast who's gone back to work at Venatrix, funnily enough,
Oh,
and she's coming on to talk about like videos and stuff. So yeah, I can, weird coincidentally that happened this week, so I knew who Venatrix were. But yeah, they seem to be very, very active, and they've got like neon signs of their company logo which look good in videos and things like that. So yeah, it is a great tip. Like your LinkedIn's algorithm is really good at suggesting people who fit your ICP or who are like you or like the people you follow. Find out the ones that do really well and yeah, try and learn off them. Like you said, it's not necessarily copying word for word, but it's like, okay, they've spoken about that topic and it's gone down well. What's my opinion on that topic, and could I put a spin on it? Which is a really, really good tip. So we've shared some like really good advice there, how to, and I think hopefully a lot of the stuff that we've gone through has made it feel less of a mountain to climb, because I think a lot of it, because it's like a fashionable thing, a fashionable phrase at the minute, it can feel like I've got to work on my emails, my outbound, and my cold calling. Oh my God, and I got to do my personal brand as well. But hopefully what you've shared today will make it a lot more manageable, a lot more accessible for people. But just to like recap, what are like the three biggest reasons why a sales rep listening to this who doesn't work on their personal brand should?
Okay, three reasons. Number one, I get most of my meetings through LinkedIn, and it doesn't feel as difficult as having to make like well, not that anyone makes 5,000 cold calls a day, but it feels quite, I don't want to say easy, but you know what I mean. Once you're in the rhythm of it, it's fun. Posting content is fun. Getting inbounds off the back of that is just a dream. I think no SDR would dispute that. So really good for helping you hit your target.
I'm being nosy here. How many inbounds are we talking?
What, a week or a month?
Ballpark, whichever. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it does swing in roundabouts. Like last week, I got 3 or 4. And some months, I remember on my first day at Deel, when I did that post, I had like 3, which was such a dream. Like on day 1 of the job with 0, obviously my target was 0. I was like to my manager, yeah, I've got these people from LinkedIn. So yeah, that would be kind of like the first reason why. The second is, I think just for like networking in general, you just don't know who you're going to meet, who, you know, your connections, who they can put you in contact with, and what opportunities can come from that. Speaking on podcasts, doing extra sales gigs, side hustles that, you know, not only look good for you to do, but obviously they pay well, and it's extra cash and it's extra exposure, which is obviously really, really nice. And I think the third thing, this is going to sound really cliche, but I am just going to say it. It is just really, really fun. And it is a very like satisfying feeling, you know, when you do like book meetings or, you know, people say, oh yeah, Holly from Deel, like that just feels very, very rewarding when it's something that you have just like enjoyed doing, and it feels quite kind of low pressure. I don't want to say low effort because I have worked really, really hard to build up my brand, but yeah, so they would be my kind of 3 reasons.
I like the second one because you think about if you're thinking about a new role, what's the first thing anyone looking at you for a job is going to do? They're going to go on your LinkedIn profile and they're going to see the last 2.5 years of your personal brand. And that is the best CV you could possibly have, aside from the same CV everyone else has got, which is I hit target and I did this. Is like, if you're LinkedIn, if they're stacking you up against 10 other people and you're one of two that have invested in your personal brand and have that persona and that name online, you're going to look really, really good against the other 10.
Yeah, and I think, like, being completely honest, like I said at the start of the podcast, I had a little bit of a job hop switch year last year, and I do think like my personal brand kind of saved me in a way, because if any recruiter went onto my profile, they'd probably be like, "Oh my God, this girl cannot hold down a job. Like, what the hell? We're not even going to speak to her."
Yeah, she spends more time posting and she should spend more time working.
But like, it probably is true. But I think because of my personal brand and because I've got the content, and you build up, like, people know you, and therefore you kind of have that extra chance to prove that you're not a complete nightmare.
Yeah, 100%. I think like when I've been looking to hire in the past, like, and I go on someone's LinkedIn profile and you said it's like haven't posted in 3 years. I'm like, really? Have you not been proud of anything? Have you not done anything? Have you not been to an award ceremony or done something with work? Like even just minimal stuff like that you're proud of. And I guess it's like if they put it, like if you said it's not easy, but you've put a lot of effort into it. If they put this much effort into this part of their job, imagine how much effort they put into the rest of it.
Absolutely. And I think, to your point there, and this would probably be my fourth reason, or maybe my first one, as to why to build a personal brand, not enough people are doing it. So when you are that one SDR on your team, or one of a couple that is posting content, building your brand, connecting with prospects on LinkedIn, you're standing out. Like, it's different. And often, like, when I send voice notes to prospects, they're always like, "Wow, I didn't even know you could do this," or like, "Oh, how cool," or they'll respond with a voice note, and that feels like a very different interaction and a much more kind of warmer, friendly interaction, as opposed to just like an email exchange, for example.
Yeah, when you mentioned the word SDR there, we one of our SDRs left last week, and we're gutted because he was great on LinkedIn, and I think I started working with him on his LinkedIn, and because he didn't like his spelling and things, so I just helped him on like the spelling side of things. And he started in like October, and I think in January, February, and March he booked like 74 demos through LinkedIn.
Oh
And
my
that's like, he was doing messaging and voice notes and stuff, but he was trying everything. And he was like, I just don't know. It seems to be like not really working very much at the minute. And I was like, dude, you've booked 75 demos through LinkedIn, and that's more than you've done cold calling. And he was like, yeah, good point. But he was thinking more about the likes and like, it's only got 4 likes on it and stuff. But yeah, definitely do it, because it's an untapped resource. And if you can in any way help yourself stand out above everyone else, why not? Give it a go. What's the worst that could happen?
Absolutely.
Now, the last question we've been asking on recent podcasts, I don't know if I remember telling you about this, but it's podcast and nominate. So you've named a few people there that you looked up to or whatever, but who do I need to get on the podcast next? Who do we need to speak to, and why?
Oh, you didn't tell me about this question, but this is a good one. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of like one single person. I would probably have to say, but I don't know if you've already had him on, my colleague and AE, Carl Ritchie.
Do you know what? So he's in my pipeline, and he ghosted me. So this is a very, very good, I'm very glad you've said Carl Ritchie. So what we'll do is I'm going to clip this exact little bit up, and then I'm just going to send him that on LinkedIn and see if he replies.
Honestly, you need to get him on. He's like the king of SMB UK and I at Deel. Like, he does so well. He's just like so nice, always helps all the SDRs, and he's just absolutely awesome. I want to be like Carl when I'm an AE.
I'm gonna clip that exact bit up and send it to him. No, you're not the only person who said like really good things about him. Our finance lead was the one who put me in touch, and he's like, you need to get Carl on. Carl's great.
Oh,
so yeah, this is, kudos to Carl. He's doing something right. But look, I appreciate you jumping on. Typically like the 45-minute episodes are like the sweet spot, and we're almost bang on 45 minutes. So I think that's perfect. And hopefully people will take something away from the episode that are listening or watching. So if you have done, please leave a review. Like I've said in the last few episodes, we only accept 5-star reviews. So if you're not going to leave a 5-star review, don't. And hit the like button, subscribe, and all that good stuff. But hopefully we'll see you in the next episode. But yeah, thank you, Holly, for joining us.
Thank you, Jamie, for having me.